And we are live. I really hope so, because it took me a while to get everything back. It's Blender today, session number 2, 2019, Blender 2019, 2.8 is a beta. Yes, still beta. It's or post alpha, because there's a few things that are still missing. I think there are things that are being added. There are new things that were not even planned and are added. Please give me your thumbs up if everything is okay, because I feel like I'm new to this again. So here are you. Okay, thank you. Awesome. Yes. All right. So I am here. So live, everything is okay. Cool. Audio, fantastic. Okay, amazing. So yeah, we are live in Blender today. I'm really happy to be back. I had some holidays, some really needed holidays, and today was my first day back at work, where I was really working on 2.8 anymore. I was actually using 2.8 because, like, this is not Blender related entirely, but I was actually I joined the Spring team to help with lighting and rendering. So today I already got frustrated by some things in Blender. So I think, of course, some of them were amazing, but we're so picky that I was using both cycles and Eevee at the same time, so I'm finding some little things that could be tricked there. But among all the things, Blender 2.8 is doing great. There's so many fixes going on. There's been hundreds of fixes since the last video I made. I can't list them all, but they are mainly fixes for crashes. There is fixes in Alembic stuff, exporting, so more for production ready stuff. There's even improvements on things that were not in 2.8 and 2.7, like the video sequence editor. Now you can choose a font. How advanced we live in the future, man. We can pick a font for the text strip on a video sequence editor. Yes, the future is here, guys. What else? Grace Pencil got plenty of updates. I have a few. Oh, thank you, Jan. You didn't have to, but thank you. All right. So let me go through some of the updates that we are I got written for you guys here. For example, if you see it, this is my list, but some of them are very simple. Some of them I already went through them. Some of them are actually new that were added today, like editing in DopeSheet. You can now, yes, in that editor, you can now scale the keyframes proportionally. So among other things, let's see what's been new since a while, because I missed 2 weeks. So we can actually go through these 2 last weeks, and then I will continue to see what is new right now. So this is live, guys. This is 9:11 p.m. So it's live. Just ask your questions away at Blender today, and I'm gonna go through them here. I didn't make a thread on blender.today yet. So for today, we're gonna go like this, like the old way of doing it. If you're new here, we're doing this every week in the last year. That's why this is episode 45. So let's get to what it was new since the last time I made a video, because even though I was on holidays, I managed to find some time to make videos at 3 a.m. The preferences have changed. I have mixed feelings about that, but thank you, Stella. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Well, I forgot the word. The user preferences have been a bit of a mess since forever. You had this very nice way of browsing them, where they had columns. The columns were not always all readable. Some of them have like subsections. Some of them didn't have subsections. Some of them had like the text stripped there halfway in there. But some of them had 4 columns. Some of them have a navigation on the side. So it was very inconsistent. Some of them had it on the right. So it's very inconsistent everywhere. So this got completely redone, like the whole user preferences now in 2.8. It's redone. So it's still a work in progress, not there, not completely done, but this is how it looks right now. It's much more thin. I think if you make it bigger, then you can sort of have a similar setup to what you had before. The sidebar now is a bit more easier to navigate. You can you have the user settings and the system settings, and in there you can just go through the settings like you were able to do before. Some areas are, I think they're called more organized, like the text, the viewports and stuff. It's all much more, much better organized. It's not a change for the change's sake. It's actually for organization. Some areas actually make better use of space. Like, for example, when you're doing the lighting, when you're editing the light setups for your Workbench engine, then you will find some like this setup to be a bit nicer. We have more room. In other cases, for example, the themes, I'm still not a big fan of this setup, because then it means that you open a panel and then you have a lot of closed panels again. So it's like a browsing. And then once you're there, yeah, you can do things like this that you couldn't do before, that it's just basically selecting, copying from one setting to the other. But in the past, it was very easy to see all the colors at once. So you can sort of do that if you just click and drag down, but here actually you can't do it. You can go all the way down. So yeah, it has its advantages and it doesn't. But the user, like the theme creation part, that really needs a complete overhaul, I think. It should be just as simple as picking one color, one variation color, and one accent color. So that would be, this is usually what people change. Of course, it's good to have the options to tweak and even the last little pixel, but yeah, it's a work in progress. Then add-ons, everything else is pretty much the same. I think some of the names have got changed, so it's a bit more easy to understand. The labels, they're all readable, most of them, but it means that now we have more room for activities. But yeah, maybe the shape of the window is not the most optimal here. Now the save preferences button is down here, and it's locked there. So there has been a few changes that have been done to the layout system in Blender to allow for this. So it means that other areas of Blender can benefit. So that one. Then something that it's been there for a while, and I didn't talk about it, I think, in the last one. It's the object color, that you can now set not only the color of the materials to be shown here. For example, if you change your material color, which I believe it's the default. So if they all share the same material, all the objects share the same material, you can make it look like a different color in the viewport. But now, since many weeks already, because I forgot to say it in the last time, you can also set the object color. So if an object has many materials, then it can be a bit messy. Then you could use the random colors, which is random. You have multiple colors depending on which object you are in. But the object one is like another layer of color that you can add. And it makes things a bit simpler, because then you don't have, it's more flexible, actually, not simpler, but more flexible, because you should change the color from the object settings, viewport display, color. So let me see if I can, okay. Apologies if I'm a bit flaky here showing stuff. It's just like, I'm getting used to it. It's been a long holidays, much deserved though. At the end I can show pictures, so or I can show you where I've been. For now, let's do Blender stuff. I saw llamas, by the way, and penguins. But yes, there has been changes to the defaults in Blender just to make it a bit better by default. For example, the wireframes, they used to be 0.5, which would match the Blender 2.7 way of showing the wireframes. So for example, if you enable wires and your mesh was subdivided, then you wouldn't see them all the time. You only will see them if they were if they were deformed. If the mesh was deformed, then you would see them. In 2.8, to match that behavior, the default value of the wireframes was 0.5. but it just looked a bit weird because it's not it's a gradient, so it just looked a bit weird. Now it's 1.0. For example, now when you're doing shading in the world settings, now the world also has use nodes by default, because a world without use nodes, it's not really handy, is it? Then okay, I'm gonna pause here a moment just to cheer with you because it's been so long. I miss you. Let's move on then for the real stuff. Viewport stereoscopy drawing is back. So if you're doing stereo in Blender 2.8, it's now back. So the drawing of the showing actually the stereo stuff, which I don't have here enabled. Here stereo. Okay, because I was in Eevee. Or I'm just not finding it because I'm under pressure and I feel watched. But it's back. It's back. It's in the viewport. The viewport drawing wasn't there. Font selection I already mentioned. It's very straightforward when you're doing video editing and you add a text strip. You can now finally in the effect strip just choose a font. So if you already had a font object in your blend file, you can choose it from the list, or you can like a font loaded, you can just choose it there from the list, or you can also just load it from where you keep your font. So in your user is .fonts. If you're using Linux, then good luck because it's a mess where he keeps the fonts all the time. But look at that, custom stuff for Blender today. There you go. Awesome, and it's very nice, anti-aliased, and it's just amazing. Great stuff. So good to hear. And there's so many more things coming for the video sequencer. Yes, the editor that we thought it was gonna be left to rot in 2.8, that we thought as a community was like this editor left alone, now it's actually getting attention. So this pretty boy is getting even prettier. So happy to hear that. The Workbench engine now can also display now textures without interpolation. So why is it useful? Well, because if you have you're painting, for example, or you want to do some pixel art using the Workbench engine or just by displaying it, then you can do it now. So for example, if I have for example shading and I load a pictures, for example, do I have any picture? Yes, very handy. The last picture I can ever find. Okay, so if I add the texture here, drag and dropping, there has been improvements in drag and drop, so just try using it everywhere, just in case. And okay, so I have this texture, this very ugly texture, but it's from Coro, so it's pretty. And you know, by default it always like interpolates, so it's fuzzy. It's fuzzy. That's, well, one, because the texture is low resolution, but maybe you want low resolution texture because maybe you're doing pixel art. So now you can do it. You can trick it from the textures themselves. If you use closest, then you should see the pixels. Yeah, nice, beautiful pixels. So you can actually do pixel art now. And not only, so here, very nice. So not only previewing pixel art, but also paint it. Isn't that awesome? How do you do it? Well, when you're in the, for example, in the texture paint mode, workspace, gotta remember, and not when you're doing with, no, when you're visualizing the material, because the material uses its own setting. Remember, each texture node has its own interpolation. So not when you're previewing the material, but if you set it to a single image, now you can, for example, here, when you're painting, change the interpolation mode. So you can choose linear or closest in the texture that you're previewing. So if you have linear, you see it fuzzy, which maybe you want. And you can use it linear, so you can actually paint pixel art. Yay! Isn't that nice? So pretty nice for game developers, for example. It's very nice. It was implemented by Clément Foucault, creator of Eevee, and awesome person all around. This is one of the other new things that came up. Then just trying to see if I'm missing anything. Oh yeah, actually this one was added some time ago, and it went under the radar a little bit because it's a UI improvement, but it's basically a thing that we were missing for a while. The default values for sliders. So okay, this is very general. This has nothing to do with like modeling, rendering, whatever. This is everywhere in the UI. When you have a default value, for example, you are rendering and you have the well, this is a silly example, but the viewport samples to 16, and then, or maybe let's do another setting. For example, the subsurface radius. No, this was part of the material, so it won't work. But for example, the viewport samples, like you change it and then you forgot, oh, which one was the default value for that setting. In this case, it doesn't really make a lot of difference, but for values that are a bit tricky, for example, in the light paths, for example, that has transmission 12, then you want to know which one is the default value, because it happens, right? That you just loaded Blender for the first time, you're changing the values, just playing with it, and then you don't know which one was the default, which one was the previous one that Blender came up with, which the developers really thought through about which value to give it as a default. Then you can just right click and then you can reset to default value and it will go back to 12. So for some values it will go to 0 depending on what you do, what you change, but in by default you go to 12. So it is very handy. You can also just right click, you can backspace on top of it. Backspace on top of any slider and it will go back to the default settings. So pretty neat. This one, for example, the indirect lighting by default is 10, and if you change it, for example, to 2.8 then you really see a change in the lighting, because the bounces are going to be clamped after 2.8 energy, 2.80. So if you want to go back to default and just be safe, just go to there. This works everywhere in the UI, so it just try it wherever it works. And last but not least, the animation. Here, let's add some keyframes. So today I was using Blender. Actually, I was using Blender, but I was doing lighting and rendering and stuff, just playing with it, because I haven't been using Blender for reals, like more than just testing it and working in the UI and everything. And I used it for reals today for doing some lighting in the spring, and I really got used to working with left click select. For example, the shortcuts for changing the frame here, I'm not really getting used to it, because it's right click. Maybe we can change it to be left click here, but then how do you select things? Also, another thing that I found, okay, I'm going a bit off track from the animation feature that I was showing, but something I found a bit annoying was that whenever I wanted to set the 3D cursor, I will have to change to the cursor tool and then set it, and then if I wanted to select things, then I will have to select it again. There was a proposal. I don't know why it's not there, or maybe I'm doing something wrong because I haven't been in touch much with developers these days, but there was a proposal to make while you're in the selection tools to do like shift right click, that's the one, shift click to do the 3D cursor. but still shift right click, it's kind of, it's the best we can do actually, because if you do shift, then it means that you can select multiple objects, but shift right click is not very discoverable, and it should probably be somewhere here as a, like a shortcut or something. Otherwise you just have to guess, and that's not nice, not guessing. Now, new feature for the Dope or any animation editor, it's that proportional editing works for keyframes. So now you can actually drag and move all your keys, and you just do it like the same way you do it in the 3D editor. So you just press O to enable or disable, it's a toggle. Then you have different follow types, and you can just scroll to change the radius about it. So pretty neat. What else? I think I'm nearly done, because there is the new primitives in Grease Pencil, but I feel like I should be testing it a bit more before adding it, because there some of them I already show them. So now there is a few new tools for like constraining your creation of your, like when you're changing the primitives, for example. There has been many improvements in there, so you can hold Alt, Shift, and Control, like Alt to create it from the center, Alt Shift to create it from the center, but also keeping the shape. So you keep it the proportion. Sorry, so you make a real perfect sphere. But the other one that it's missing here, that I think I broke Blender. Okay, there, I broke the Blender stuff. It's a cutter tool. So when you're editing a mesh, and this I haven't tested it, so this shouldn't be silly fishy. Oh, I've been opening my old blend files. Oh my gosh. Huh. This is a character I made like 12 years ago. Okay, I didn't want to open that. I have the demo files here, 2.8, Grease Pencil. I could do a demo showing really old stuff at some point. Maybe make more videos about showing older files. It's fun. So I'm in object mode, I select the Grease Pencil, I move it. If I go to draw mode and then I select the cutter, then you can cut on the shapes, but I haven't really tested this tool yet, so I'm not gonna pretend I know it and show it. I will let you guys do test with it, or you can wait for the next episode where I'm gonna have more time. I'm gonna ask the developers about how this tool works. For the rest, I can just continue reading some of the news, and then I'm gonna jump into the questions you have. And please keep them mild, because I am getting up to date just like you. I was moving mostly my computer around, so I was using Blender, but I didn't get to play with all the new features, because I actually had to work, because rent has to be paid and beer has to be bought. NLA blending was refactored. Yes, the NLA has been getting a lot of improvements over the last month or so, a bit more. So if you have used the NLA in the past and you were not really happy with it, I would really recommend checking it. Maybe not tonight, well, maybe tonight, yes, but also tomorrow. Like there should be a new build up in like 5 hours or so, and then you should try the new ones, because the new version, because it will work much better when you're layering animations and then inserting keyframes with different blending types or different interpolation types, and it should be pretty close to the best thing you ever tried in your life. No, okay, not so much. But another update was some of the HDRs were updated for the not for the markup, but for the HDRIs that are used in the for example, when you're doing look dev. So in look dev you will find a few more newer images, and some of them got updated. So it's they're all from the community or from HDRI Heaven. The icons were updated, but there are so many that I'm not gonna go through them. Some of them are in the sections down here. The particles one is new, I found it, and some of them mainly on the editor's side. Which, by the way, have you noticed that now you can actually see which shortcut it is? For it belongs to any of the editors. So these shortcuts actually were in 2.7, so I will use them all the time actually. Just to change to the node editor, I will press Shift F3 and then you will be in the node editor. It's very, very handy. I use them all the time. But in 2.8 they're back with a touch. So in 2.8, when you press Shift F3, for example, for the node editor, you arrive in the shading nodes for your objects, for your material. But if you press it again, you will jump into the other subtype of the same editor. So in this case, the compositor, and yet again, press it again to go to the texture editor. So it's really nice when you have editors that share functionality and you know it. For example, the dope sheet, then Shift F6 for the graph editor, and then you can swap between them, the different kind of editors, and then Shift F12 is the one for the animation editor. So press it again, timeline, and the dope sheet, and yes, that should be it for that. Let's continue. The 2D animation template was updated. The 2D animation template is meant for grease pencil. So you open it and you start painting, and grease pencil is awesome. Speaking of grease pencil, I have some pretty nice news for you. Is that there is training coming up like very soon. Not tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. It's just a matter of days for a complete training on the blend. Maybe it's gonna be called Grease Pencil Fundamentals, but it's short videos with very clear audio, with nice drawings and examples of pretty much any of the functions in Grease Pencil. In the new Grease Pencil, this is Blender 2.8 we're talking about. This training is actually made by one of the artists in the Grease Pencil team, so the ones that work together with the developers to make it. So pretty nice, exciting news. It's coming up for the Blender Cloud first. So Blender Cloud subscribers are going to get first, and then it's going to be published on the YouTube channel of Blender Foundation. So we're hoping. So this will be like for the fundamentals of Grease Pencil, and then there will be an extended, more advanced Grease Pencil. If you really want to go deep into it, there will be more advanced training for the Grease Pencil for 2D animation in 2.8, and that will be only available on the Blender Cloud for the Blender Cloud subscribers. Yes, because these trainings they cost money to make, so it's people gotta be paid, right? And also the Blender Cloud supports Blender development, so pretty neat. What is coming up? I could show a demo, but maybe not. I'm not allowed yet, so we make it nicer. Thank you, Jan Betulani. Thank you. My students have trouble with the monochrome icons. Sorry to hear that. What kind of trouble? There are things that could be improved, especially color-wise. There are plans on changing the colors of the icons depending on the context they are in. So, for example, we already have the shading part of the icons. For example, if you have a sun light, for example, you will see a nice little red sun there. So it is all for things related to shading. This color could be represented here, could appear here, and there could be a blue color, for example, for the modifiers. There could be a color for basically any context in Blender. So there's work to be done there, but hopefully you guys will get used to it, because it's it helps with the theming, it helps to give it a bit more mature look, and it makes making new icons much better, because then you don't have to think about a whole system for colors in the future. So developers can actually develop much faster if you don't have to think about a completely fully designed icon all the time. It can also work better with themes. There are benefits to having monochrome icons. We just need to give it a better context coloring. Then that is for the 7th of January. But before that, actually, there were some few updates. For Linux users now, the tablet support is much better. That's something I was pretty happy about. The Blender 2.8 branch, this was long, like 15 days ago, so only 2 weeks ago. But if you compile Blender, you probably already noticed that the Blender 2.8 branch doesn't exist anymore. Now Blender 2.8 is master since already for 2 weeks. So you probably, if you build Blender, you already are aware of this. Otherwise, change it. You should. There is a description how to do it. It's fairly simple how to do it. You just delete the branch, your local branch, and then 2.8 branch, and then just use master. The old master, which used to be like a 2.7-ish looking Blender, is now called stable, because there should always be one stable version available for use. So if you go to the build bot or blender.org/experimental, is a redirect, you will find that the beta is beta and stable stable. So no more confusing naming. You still see 279 and 280 here, but it's just stable. It's supposed to be stable, and it's still getting updates, by the way. Then the snapping, and I already mentioned in the past. The grease pencil, I already mentioned in the past. There's a new 2D monkey primitive, but it's basically just close to what we used to have, but now a bit less evil, I think. So if you find it here, it's a monkey. It's a bit less evil than it used to be. That is all for the news. Let's go to the questions. Yay. Okay, go. All the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Okay, this is as far as YouTube lets me scroll. So, welcome to the jungle of vertices. Happy New Year, everybody. Yay. 2019. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Which one do you think is going to be the last version of this year? 2.80 should come up in between like May, maybe? May, June? May? I think it's more May or than April, May, because the spring team is probably gonna work. We the spring team, because now, okay, for those who are not aware, spring is cloud.blender.org/spring is a new open movie being worked on at the Blender Animation Studio. Super happy to be involved in this. It's just a masterpiece. Looks so awesome. The okay, no spoilers. The hey, Blender Today website is down. Okay, no, it's not down. Okay, phew, sorry. Do we ask questions here? Yes, we do ask questions here. How to make instant collection local again? Like de-instantiate or uncollect? Well, it's a you can make an instance collection local. That should be actually the same as it used to be. So for example, I have this collection that has a camera cube and the light, and if I make an instance like Shift A collection instance collection, then this is an instance. And to make it local, it should be just the same as it's before. So Control A, or it should be, let's search. How was the search? F3. Still remembering. Local, for example, make local. No, real. Make duplicates real. And then it makes the 3 objects. Yeah. And the objects are local, but their data, it's shared. So you see it has 2 users. So it means that this object and this object has it. So it makes the first level local. So it's actually great, because then you don't make a copy of everything. So it's the same as 2.7 pretty much. you should open the next with, hey, 2.8 here. What's this? Woo262 asks, what's the status of open subdiv performance? I know it's eventually going to get faster because that's the point, but I need reassurance from official people. I can't really give an answer to that. I mean, it's using OpenSubdiv right now. Blender is using OpenSubdiv, but the performance itself, I haven't heard. I can ask tomorrow the developers and just give you a hint, but it should get better, of course, but it shouldn't be that bad. Maybe depends on the graphics card, and just make sure the graphics card is up to date, but it should work. PanGG asks, I'm a Blender Cloud subscribers. I have a question. Is 2.8 ready? Be ready, upload new tutorial on Blender Cloud? Yes, I just mentioned the Grease Pencil, and there's also, we want to release a Blender 2.8 fundamentals update, like the fundamentals in Blender Foundation YouTube channel. So, welcome back, Pablo. Thank you, Job. I've submitted a diff UV snapping modes on the developer portal, and I'm wondering how the diff approval process works. How does it work? Happy New Year! So if you submit a diff, which is like a patch, a change in Blender, you should see it here in the developer. So here, for example, we can find differentials. There's just tasks usually, but you will find it in, let's see if I can find one. This one, for example. They start with D for differential. So they are basically, you should submit create a diff and you can submit the changes, and you can ask for feedback. Then you poke the developers maybe on IRC in the blender.org/get-in, or you can just go to blender.org, get involved, development. There you can see, you can find all the links, for example, for IRC, for the mailing lists, which are actually, some of them are deprecated. Maybe I should update this, but the best way to reach developers is either IRC or via dev talk, which is the forum here. You click on forum, and here you can, for example, Blender development, or if you're developing for Cycles or Python, then you should do it there. But in Blender development, you can just create a thread maybe and poke people around if you they haven't been poked yet from here. The process basically just goes like this. You just you should submit a patch, a differential, and then a developer's gonna give you a review. So they just give you notes, and then the notes get addressed. And once the code is good enough, or has like reached the level of that it can go into the master, then it will. And if not, then you just follow the steps, whatever the developers tell you. Of course, if it fits with Blender, maybe if it's a feature that is completely weird, then it's not about the code itself only, but it just maybe doesn't fit with Blender itself. Is it a way to get back the 2.7 moving with the mouse wheel and keep the 2.8 hotkeys? Moving with the mouse wheel, like shift and like this kind of panning, which I think is not, yeah, it's not there anymore. I think it shouldn't be too hard to whoops. Here, I forgot where I was. Yeah, it should be possible. I think the reason it was removed is because it wasn't part of the minimal key map. But if there's no easy way to get it back, then there should be an option, because yeah, that was the deal. We're gonna remove most of the key from the shortcuts only if they're easy enough to add them back. Are you planning on improving sculpting, especially the in topo, performance, and undo redo system speed? The undo and redo got a few improvements. It's not as fast as it could, but it's much better than it used to be in 2.7. And the sculpting is actually one of the hot topics for the future, for when there is more people getting subscribed to the development fund, which is what can allows us to hire developers. And once more people are, I think there is a team of the sculpting artists. I know even inside of the Blender Institute at the moment, an animation studio, they're making this nice document about all the improvements that the sculpting could have. There are even rumors of maybe organizing even like a code quest, only focus on sculpting. So yes, get in touch if you have like ideas. Get in touch with the sculpting artists in Blender artists. But yeah, I think there will be improvements. I bet. Not so long from now, because sculpting is huge and a vital part of the pipeline. So Tyrone says there is a mean crash with undoing in texture paints. Oh, report if you can reproduce it. Please report it if it hasn't been reported yet. The Job Toon says, where are the everything nodes? Well, they're being worked on. They're, by the way, have you seen in Twitter? I retweeted with the Blender today. Someone has been working on the animation nodes, and it wasn't Jack. It wasn't the original author. This is the power of open source. They made the sound actually, like the shape and the notes react to sound real time without having to bake the sound, and that is just amazing. I don't know how the hell they do it, but it's just so cool. So I hope they can release it soon, or it can be part of the official animation nodes as soon as possible. So the animation nodes is it eventually will become everything nodes, but for the time being is part of if it's an add-on. When the first version of 2.8 comes out, when the most of the work is done, Jack is gonna work full-time on everything nodes, basically converting the whole system to everything nodes, starting with the modifiers. So the modifier stack will be nodal, then eventually can become can be like procedural modeling or rigging, or basically anything in nodes, or everything. Not anything, but everything, or both. Ampo says, hey Pablo, can we merge flat and studio lighting? They share more than 90% of the functionality, so I guess it can be merged very easily. How would you share it? There's just two different things. So what would it be? Like an option in studio that says like what's the name? Shadeless? The thing is that they share most of them, but they are not. They like, for example, some of them are not. Like what is it? Cavity outline. Like specular lighting. Maybe it could be grayed out. But yeah, it's I don't see a big issue with it. It's being tabs, but it could be merged. Yes. Do you plan on adding an audio waveform display for grease pencil animation? It actually, that's something that is needed for everywhere in Blender, from the animation editors, for example, and everywhere. It would be cool to have, like maybe in the graph editor or any animation editor, to have the waveform in the back, like a display. That would be pretty neat. But I don't know anyone working on it at the moment. So the next questions by Aaron says, would it be possible to merge the movie editor with the video sequencer, that if you want to mask something in the video, you don't need to switch to the movie editor, and then you can compare scaling, etc. I think the movie editor is a different thing from the sequencer. It's a completely different concept. The movie editor allows you to load movies and to mask them and to prefetch them, and the sequencer is not really maybe the preview mode of a strip could use the movie editor or something. You know, when you're editing video, that you can preview it and then select a part and then drop it as a strip, maybe that could be the way to go. But yeah, it should be, some areas in Blender should go together. The thing is that the movie clip editor is one of the newest editors, were added by Sergey Sharivin, and the sequencer is one of the oldest editors. So their code, I bet, must be really, really different. Now that someone is actually working fully focused on the sequencer, maybe it's a good time to propose these things. Remember, you can propose ideas in right-click select.com. There is a community that it's focused on reviewing ideas and then hearing about the improvements and actually making a proposal. So for example, this one with nice mockups and text, and I haven't even read it, but I really like it because it's very clear. And the clearer the idea, the easier for developers is to implement in the future. All right, so Fred says, any chance of upcoming VDV will have more support in 2.8? Yes, actually the developers from the Tangent Animation Studio, the ones that made Next Gen, the Netflix film that was made with Blender, they worked on OpenVDV, and they mentioned that they want to include their code in Blender, the official Blender. So it is coming eventually. Remember, 2.8 is a series. It's not like a 280 and that's it. It's 280, 281, 2 and 3. Until who knows. It would be cool if Blender had a profile management, Lapis says. That way you can see who created the file, who used it, and how long, and maybe restrict editing to guest some user. That involves some logistics in logging in and out. We have Blender ID actually. The Blender ID add-on is built in Blender. Maybe that will be one way of doing that. But then preventing that involves a lot of editing and user permissions, and that is very tricky to have it working properly in between operating systems. So maybe a good way to go would be to use the web, like Attract or Flamenco, the Blender Cloud services that are also open source and you can install yourself. But maybe that's one way to go and make things a bit easier, because dealing with files in the file system is complicated. Aaaand says, why was the work mode shortcut removed? It's not removed, it's the shift tilde. So, oh, that's funny. Okay, there. So it's not removed actually. If you have, for example, if you're there and you press shift tilde, then you're looking around. Then if you press, which one was the key for gravity? Tab, there you go. So I'm now here, I'm using gravity. So shift tilde is the tilde is the one that it looks like that on your keyboard. If you can't find it, then look for it in the user preferences settings. If you have a Spanish layout, I think it's the ñ, the N with the little curly hat or like curly hair on the top. It's you can also find it here in the key map settings. You can search by key binding, and then you can just search for that. Oh, it doesn't show up. Tilde, there you go. Search for that one in the settings, and then you get the name of the operator, and then you can change it. I wish the keymap editor will have some love too. Blender today has keyframe in the outliner panel changed. I'm having trouble turning on and off the render icon to make objects appear and disappear. No, I shouldn't. I don't remember it. Oh, there's something funky going on with my graphics card maybe. It's been too long. I hasn't been doing this amount of work for a while, so maybe that's why. But you could still, you should be able to press I. Oh, sorry. In the ones that are allowed, so not a collection but an object. So you press I on top of it, and it should be possible to keyframe these values. maybe you are changing the collection, and the collections can't be animated yet. So maybe that's the issue you're going through now. All right, it's almost 10 o'clock. I will answer the next 5 questions and we'll call it a night or a day, and we'll see you again rather soon. So no saying goodbye yet. Shunush says, how's Freestyle Outline Eevee? Any plans for integration? It is not integrated yet, but the developer working on the line PR, it's still working on it. So I have high hopes in that would happen. And Freestyle Outline and Eevee, I think that's the way to go. Plus Grease Pencil, I think that's the way to go for making fun animations in the future. Because even though I love the style of Spring, it's just amazing. It's like mind blowing. It's just amazing how it looks. But it takes so long to render. And of course, that's the case with any high-end cartoon, whatever. Open a Pixar film and it will take hundreds of hours to render. And we are dealing with a few hours for us. And it looks great, but if I were to make a movie, I will probably go for like a 2D style, because it's such a pain to move so many polygons. It looks awesome, but it's a style decision, right? I really like the style, but maybe freestyle with outlines and Grease Pencil gives you something that with a bit more easier, faster feedback. Although I was using today, I got a computer, I got another computer for working in art at the Blender Studio, and it had an RTX, and it was just like blazing fast. So yes, we are spoiled, but it's for research. If I find any bugs with the RTX, it can tell the developers and just keep working on it. But it's just so fast and so furious that super happy. Tout Apprendre says, what will the alternative to emulate 3 mouse button and emulate numpad? Oh, what will be the alternative? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it should still be working. Okay, now there you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the numbers are still working for hiding and showing the collections, the top level collections. And if you change the emulate keymap, I'm not sure emulate numpad, it still works actually. So if you click on emulate numpad, actually now it changes the number, the top row of the numbers in your keyboard to change the view. And the emulate 3 mouse button should also, yeah, exactly. It changes the alt key to become like middle mouse clicking. So middle mouse lets you orbit around, and then if you hold alt when you have the emulate 3 mouse button enabled, then you also have orbiting. Hey, thank you Daniel. Thank you. And it was just out of your heart. You were not asking anything. Thank you. Michael says, what is normals popover near mesh options in top bar in edit mode? How to use that? Normals. Interesting. Used to copy, add, or multiply. I haven't. Face strength. This is the new edit normals, I think from Samarco, isn't it? I actually haven't been get up with this. Sorry, I don't have an answer for that, but I have to play with it. Just enable the normal previewing. Normals here. So I have the normals here, and if I change, no, it's not gonna do much. No, I don't know what I'm doing actually here, so I'm gonna stop embarrassing myself, and I'm gonna continue with another question. Shunush, so when you have these kind of questions, by the way, I can let you know that there is this awesome website called Stack Exchange, So go to blender.stackexchange and ask this question. Maybe it's even asked here, but you'll have to search for it, because here is like the greatest knowledge database of Blender. All questions that are, for example, active, you can change. You can even help other people answering, and usually the questions and the answers are very well explained with thumbnails, with everything, because people get points. It's like a game, so you get points and your user gets cooler and gets nicer, and yeah, so it's you can be cool in the Blender Stack Exchange community. And all of these people are cool because they spend their own time making this nice database that everybody can access. It's awesome. And it's also good for when you're searching for a question, you go here. Tiago asks, any chance to bring back background images like 279? It's pretty much there, right? Like you can add an image. Like at this point, if you have been keeping up with the news, you are probably familiar that, let's see, you add a texture, right? You drag and drop a texture, or you add one, for example, image, and then you can use background image. Shift A, image, background image. Then you choose your image, and then you have it here. So if you were in 3D view, then you will find that you don't see the image from the side. It's aligned to the view that you're in. But for example, if you play with the settings, for example, here's this one that says align to view, you can disable that, and then it will only show up here in ortho view. You can emulate the same behavior that you had in 2.7 by changing the settings of this image. So you can make it, for example, draw like default in the front of the model, on the back. You can see it from the sides or not. For example, if you're in the front, here in the top, you can make it so it only shows in orthographics but not in perspective. So if you disable perspective and you move around, then it goes away, exactly like it used to work in 2.7. But now you can also transform it, so that's pretty nice. It's something that you didn't have in 2.7, but if you don't want to select it, you just disable selection, and then you still have it. It's like the best of both worlds, I think. I think I need to wrap up. It's already 5 minutes past 10, so I gonna get going. It's been a pleasure. It's been so nice to be back and to be able to talk about new stuff. I apologize if I didn't get everything that is new. It's just that I haven't been keeping up. I was on holidays, so now I'm ready to be back. I'm gonna be using Blender. I already mentioned now every day, helping the Spring team. So I'm already discovering a few things. Oh yeah, the thing that I mentioned about Eevee and Cycles is that I was doing lighting in Cycles, and I wanted to preview the shadows, how the shadow will fall, using the LookDev engine. But I would only see the settings for the lamp in the Cycle settings. So in order to see the Eevee or LookDev settings, I'll have to switch the render engine, but I was already rendering in the viewport with Cycles. So what to do there is like I needed to see the settings for the Eevee. That's a fun trick, actually. What fun, not a bug, but more like a puzzle, how to fix that. There are two ways of fixing it. One is that what if Cycles had its own LookDev mode? What if Eevee wasn't the way to have LookDev in Cycles? What if Cycles had like a maybe a faster way of rendering without all the complicated things that Cycles have, all the high-end stuff? Maybe that's one way. Or another way would be to simply just always display the Eevee settings for lamps, even though we are in Cycles, for example, because it's being used even though you're not in Cycles. So yeah, that's something I was thinking about today. I got way past my time. thank you for tuning in. I will see you again in the next week when we get to see more Blender stuff. Hopefully not so rushed like today because I have so many things to show. And I want to see, oh, by the way, there is a new training coming up on the Blender Animation Studio of like not this week, but the next week starts. It's grease pencil. So I'm gonna have a real grease pencil artist here to talk to and ask all the questions. Maybe I can even invite him to for a live stream. Oh, that would be really nice. Okay, I mean too much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next week. Wait. You think I'm gonna go without the theme of the show? I won't. Watch your headphones, because in 5, 4, no kidding, in 3, 2, 1. Yes. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So happy to be back. I will see you again the next week and all the weeks for a whole year. Thank you for being part of Blender Today 45 season number 2. Bye bye. Ciao.